Happy Thursday, everybody, and it's July 16th. Most of you are about 2 to 4 weeks away from school starting, so I kind of wanted to update you on what SSDA is up to. And just want to say hi to everybody. You can see I still need to put my molding up. I've painted, I've done all these other things, and need help with molding. I bought myself a nail gun, so if you don't see me after this meeting, it's probably because I shot myself. So just want to say hi to everybody. I'm going to get started with a presentation, update you on some things, and wish the best of luck to all of you. If you need any help, seriously, guys, send an email. My cell phone's on there. Send me a text. My board is here to help, and we're very excited. This week we've been hosting our new superintendents. We have about 22 that have signed up. And could you imagine your first year is this era? Even if it's your second year, I can't imagine. Well, what the hell, even if it's your 20th year, there's no year like this. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Give me a second and walk you through some stuff that's going on. So let me pick something here. There we go. And Shazam. Okay, I thought this was a pretty cool slide, by the way. For those of you out skiing in the Alps, I'm jealous, and I'm sure it's none of you. It's probably your teachers or your staff. But we're going back to school one way or another, and we're going to talk about leading into the storm. Now, some of you are thinking the storm started March 13th. No, that was kind of like you saw the clouds out in the horizon, and you got through things. You had a couple grace periods of doing your best with distance learning, but the storm's coming up, and I think the intensity you can feel and the pressure on you is going to intensify. And I want to talk to you about a few things to help you get through that. So tomorrow, the governor is going to provide a big announcement. Tonight, we'll be meeting with his staff to get some updates on that prior, and we'll probably lock it down, but we and talking about some of our concerns that we're seeing statewide. But he's made an announcement on update on schools. I hope you get a chance to watch it. It's at noon, and it's on our website. You can also go to the governor's website. And a lot of rumors out there, a lot of speculation. So it'll be good to go into the weekend, I believe, to get some statewide perspective and hopefully some decision making to help you guys get through things. So what have we been doing for you since I last talked to you? First of all, I kind of went through all my PowerPoints with you for those who've been following along, and I'm kind of excited to say that most of the things that we talked about happened, right? I told you not to be a follower, not a leader. Be calm. Remember, things are going to change. This COVID's very unpredictable. You're going to have lots of ebbs and flows, and you're all going to go insane. So I hit pretty much everything. And for those of you that went insane, I hope you got to get a little time off. I probably talked to a half a dozen superintendents on their vacation. One pulled over in Montana at a rest area and had her family join us for a webinar. Others just calling from your vacations. You didn't really get one. If you got one, you were not, it's not like the old days. But here's what we've been doing. First of all, we're still meeting with Access, CSBA, CASBO, and CSESA every week. We meet tonight. And we're kind of just together doing things on behalf of students. We're fighting an uphill battle sometimes with the unions and CTA and the politics, but we feel really locked in together, and we're working on some great stuff, and you'll see. One of the big things we're working on is the audit guidelines for SB 98, and for the first time, SSDA gets a seat at the table to write the guidelines. So it'll be the organizations plus CAP advisors going to have Jerry Shelton sit in. And I really want to thank Jessica up in Shasta County, our fiscal director. She, this is her wheelhouse. She's really good at audit and audit guidelines and has been working on this. Folks, if we don't get on this, you guys are going to be owing a lot of money back the way that language is written, especially now that districts are going away from face-to-face. So stay tuned. I'm so happy that Capital Advisors got us a meeting with the controller to get us a seat at the table and protect you guys from losing any money that legislation wrote in there. Our SSDA board meeting, we met as a group and had a good really a good meeting together, went over our budgets, went over some of our goals and plans. I will share those with you next week. You're going to see some exciting things that help you with getting through the start of the year, especially one of them in particular. We're going to have a Friday shout out from one of our board members to talk about what they're going through. Be like a 2 or 3 minute video clip to you. We're also going to open up some chat lines so you can help each other out, right? I think there's nothing like sitting around talking to your colleagues about what you're going through and locking in some confidential discussions. So we'll have that out for you early next week. We've also been focused on reopening schools. We'll be making an announcement on July 30th. We're going to host a summit on best practice for reopening, and we're going to include our partners in Utah, Nevada, and Arizona. So it should be a really cool 3-hour, high energy, lots of 10-minute presentations, none of these 1-hour deals. Give you guys as much ideas and information possible about what people are doing throughout the West Coast on reopening schools. For those of you that have been worried about the focus on the hold harmless, we call it the ADA freeze for anybody growing. We are working on that very hard, and at this point, we feel confident we're going to have some solutions. We're also working on with the other associations on protecting you from lawsuits and the liability bill that's being run through. And then Corey's working her tail off on more upcoming webinars and trainings. As more of you start to look at the hybrid or DL only model, we feel we need to continue to partner with Q, ISTE, and CCEE and CDE to get you as much training as possible for your teachers. So what are we going to cover today? And I've really got 5 areas you can read. Try to inspire you. Talk about your board meetings, flexibility, humility, and our new theme is this too will pass. So let's get into this right away. In some ways, I'm at a loss for words to inspire you because I've been watching board meetings. I watched Chico Unified's last night. I watched one up in Hope Valley. I've watched a couple down south. That is my Netflix right now. More because I'm trying to hear what people are talking about from the public to answer questions for you and get you some cheat sheets. So I'm a little lost because this is really undescribable what most of you are going through. It changes social media's attention. CTA is loading up and trying to do what's best for their members. Same with CSEA. And it's just a real mix of things. And so I don't really have great words to inspire you, but you know me, I have at least 3. First of all, I would continue to listen to people who are working with kids. I'm sick and tired of having to listen to these people who never have to work with them. Obviously, you got to listen to some of the overall guidance from folks, but from the feds to the state board and all those, I think some of those people need to know that you're the ones working with the kids. So listen to your colleagues and others that have to work with the children and the staff, because they're the ones who really have to end up doing the work. The guidelines you can read, but try not to get caught up too much on listening to others with all this great advice, and yet they'll never be around a kid this fall. Now's not the time to move in the gray area of leadership. You guys know I've been pushing you guys always to be entrepreneurial and pushing the envelope. But to me, this is not the time to push the envelope when it comes to health, safety of the staff, kids, and everyone else, right? So I believe don't push that envelope when the public health director is giving you direction and your board is trying to yank you in another way. You need to follow the science and the rules of what's being told you at both the state and mostly the local level. I think most of you are great at that, but I think if you do the wink, wink, hey, we're gonna do social distancing at 2 feet. Those bozos don't know what they're talking about down the street. If something happens, even a protection from litigation, that's called negligence, and that's a no-no. And again, just be transparent. Tell people you have to. This is a very tricky virus. You have to listen to your local public officials. And lastly, just be human. I mean, I've been so proud to listen to my own board talk about, I don't know what I'm doing. They don't, they constantly are saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying my best. I have a lot of unknown answers. Don't act like you know it all because you can't. And I think that will go a long way just to be more human, to help to let people know you're doing your best, but no one in the right mind can know everything in this area. So one of the things I've been doing is watching other board meetings, as I told you, and I think it's imperative that you write down a list of potential questions with answers and have at your fingertips, not only for you, but for your executive assistant, your board. Have like almost like a playlist, like I say, like a coach would have on the football field. And don't answer questions, especially on Zoom, that you're just guessing, right? Say, we'll get back to you, because these are recorded. So recorded messages can lead to problems. There's some very difficult questions that are being thrown at people. And I really think it's imperative that you prep for those board meetings and watch other board meetings and steal ideas, and then come prepared for your board meeting for all the different angles of what's coming. And again, you don't know what's coming. Last night I watched Chico Unified's board meeting, and I left this for you. I thought they did an outstanding job of running a meeting, a very difficult meeting with 300 parents. I love the way they laid out different segments, right? And so they did a segment, took input on that segment, and if someone asked questions about something else, they tried to reel them back and say, no, we're talking about this item. Parents are very confused and nervous, and they're going to talk about their issue. You have to control that. Chico's meeting is about 3 hours, but I really think there's segments of that you can quickly go to and go, oh, that's how a great district runs a board meeting. And I was very impressed last night. And even though they, like all of us, struggle with Zoom and hitting the buttons and the mute and the unmute, overall they did great. And I thought they allowed for a lot of chat. They opened up their Facebook Live. They had it on Zoom. They had it on YouTube. And they had a good following, but they, I think, were really prepared to answer the questions that came out of left field. Why don't you have more outdoor ed classes? Why don't? What are you going to do if there's a positive case at one grade level, et cetera, et cetera? We'll take a look at that. The next thing I want to talk about is how do you create flexibility? Well, first you have to start with your team and your board, right? And you have to have these hard conversations with them right away and say, look, I know your personality, let's say person A, is to be, you're super organized and you need things in advance. We all need to be very flexible as a board and as a leadership team. In your office, outside, we cannot be rolling the eyes. We cannot be saying, here we go again. There's going to be a ton of flip-flopping going on, right? And decision-making going on. And I encourage you to look at your roster in your district, or have your principals look at your roster and reach out to the non-flexible staff people in advance and talk to them, right? I once had to move office staff around in my job when I was a director of adult ed. I went to the person who had not moved her office for years and told her 6 months in advance what I was doing, just because I know her personality and what she needed. And it really helped her calm down. I didn't blindside someone like her and told her, here's what I'm doing. Her husband called me and thanked me tremendously, although he had to deal with 5 months and 5 months plus of her worried about the move, but it really helped her out. So work with those non-flexible people to help them become flexible, and that will help. I would create a flexible campaign. I know we have a board member, Stuart's he's bringing Gumby, the mascot, in to work with his other mascot. And so people see that you need to be flexible, including the kids. But you can come up with a tagline on being flexible to get through this. And I think the last thing is, are you flexible? I mean, you can't demand flexibility if you're wound up and you're super stressed. So can you be like that duck who's paddling quickly and the water's pounding on them and below the surface they're going nuts, but they look calm as a cucumber? How about you? Can you handle flexibility? Can you keep it together when things change? People are going to be watching that closely. I talked about this a couple of times, but I just think you need to be straight up honest with people. Sometimes that bites us, but I think in this time it's to be very honest and tell everybody you're doing your best. You're relying on multiple sources, and not everybody gets back to you in a timely manner, or that's an area you don't know about. You cannot be an expert. No one's dealt with a pandemic of this extent. You can talk to people who've been around on this planet for 80 years, and this is up there with World War II or Vietnam War, much broader, I think, than even 9/11. So that's it. I think you need to use common sense. You need to listen and use your science. And then for those of you that lack, I think, an emotional bloodline like us Irish do, make sure you have social emotional support systems for yourself, your staff, your board, your people. Don't take that lightly. This is really a time where people are on edge, and they need that emotional support. And if that's not your go-to, then get someone on your team to help you with that. But you have to show, you can't be, I think, a dictator in this case. You really have to be someone who's emotionally balanced and allows that in your family. So we got this from one of our board members, Toby Waite. This too will pass. And I know that's difficult to imagine, but for all of us that have been around for a while, these intense things pass. Recessions, 9/11, you talk to people during world wars, and when you're in the midst of it, it really does feel like the that's too big of a word for Chico, the end of the world. Even recently, we've had so many fires, floods, earthquakes, and mudslides. We almost don't know what normalcy is over the last 3 or 4 years. So it will pass, right? So remember that. Look ahead. Things are going to pass. You have to grind things out and get to that point, but it will pass. Don't fracture your relationships with people, and make sure you take care of yourself, because in the end, the leader has to be it has to be there when it passes, right? Where they need you. They need you to get through this, get on to the next phase, and move on to whatever happens next. So this will pass. It's not going to get easier. I think it's going to get a lot tougher this fall and winter, but eventually we'll be back to normalcy. And you heard it here first through someone who can be very optimistic. I'm finding myself struggling with this too will pass, but it will. And I think that's a good thing to go by. We all say dumb things, and I know everybody's under pressure, and I would not want to be the White House press secretary, but science should not stand in the way of schools reopening. And that's a shocking statement, but I do want to add to it that you have to make sure your emotions don't stand in the way of your decisions. Your emotions don't stand in the way of your decisions, right? You have to be scientific. You have to be data-driven. You have to listen to the community. You have to do what's right. You will use some gut decisions. I agree with that, but don't let your emotions and all those voices around you steer what you're going to have to do with your reopening for your community, for your kids, for your parents. So I'm not trying to pick on Kaylee. I can't imagine being at the podium and having to do her work, but these are the type of comments that can really backlash. So take your time as you're speaking to your public of what you mean. So with that said, I wanted to wish you all well. Tomorrow's a big day. Please email me if you have any questions. SSDA is always here to help you. And I expect a lot of big news coming out of tomorrow and then over the following couple weeks. So hope you're all doing well. Hope you enjoyed this, and looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with when you reopen your schools. Okay. Take care, stop share. I'll end the thing. Have a good day. Take care.